by a very special guest, Anna_Lewis35 from Twitter of the Say It Again Network. Avid, rabid, diehard Titans fan. And I do want you to, welcome to the show. Let's go. Little clap. I do actually want to get you to like talk a little bit about yourself, because just by like reading your bio, I can see that it says you were a coach. You know, you're a podcaster. You have you do like breakdowns and stuff. When I just follow you on Twitter, you're always like posting, I guess, not just opinions, but like facts and like interesting things outside of like just opinions. But you bring up other topics that I find informative. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of owe this to you in a sense. You know, I didn't really think about getting on and doing more like face fronting content and like making videos until I kind of got started with Say It Again Network. So podcast coming soon for the Say It Again Network as well. So it's exciting now. So I thank you for even, you know, kind of put me on with the network and giving me an opportunity to work with you guys in the capacity as well.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. You bring great content, and anybody watching this knows that. So it's all love here. So until we start talking about the Packers and the Titans.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And then it's bad blood.
Yes, 100%. I will hate you this week, and then we can be friends again next week.
Oh, that's fine. So yeah, just tell us a little about your background and just kind of like how you got involved with maybe Say It Again, or just whatever you might want to tell us about that and everything that you do with the Say It Again Network.
Yeah, so I'll give you my go-to spiel. So when I was, you know, a kid, I'm a very outgoing, like, I can do anything type person. It's always my personality, and that's a lot attributed to my dad. And my dad always wanted to get me involved in sports, and we would sit and watch football all the time. And I told him when I was like 7, I was like, I want to play football. And he's like, no, we're not going to do that. So he was like, you can be a punter. You can go be a punter or a kicker. It's like, no, I don't want to be a punter. I want to hit somebody. Like, I wanted to be a linebacker or a D-end or something like that. So that dream got kind of squashed because my parents were looking out for my health and my safety. But that dream evolved. He got me, you know, he would get me every year of Madden and try to teach me that. And I just learned a lot with him. Learned a lot watching the Titans as well. And I decided I wanted to coach. So when I went to college, I went to Indiana University for a couple years. I was on the women's rowing team up there and made several friends in the athletic department. And one of my good friends taught me a lot about, you know, things I would have learned if I had played.
Okay.
And learned a lot about the game there. And that gave me a good base. Then I transferred back home to Tennessee Tech out in Cookeville, and actually just ran into one of the players there on like my first day on campus. And he was just asking, he's like, I haven't seen you. It's a small school. He's like, I haven't never seen you before. You know, like, where are you from? All that.
Uh-huh.
And then we started talking and told him, you know, that whole little thing. We're standing in the Chick-fil-A line on campus, and you know that was long. So
yeah,
we just talked forever, and then told him that coaching was kind of my passion. And he was like, well, why don't you come meet my coach? I know they need people to help with film. So why don't you just come meet him? So I did that, and they brought me on there. I was on for a year and a half. Coaching changed, the whole staff changed except for one person. So I ended up leaving, but it was a good time. I would spend probably 70 or 80 hours a week.
Wow.
Unpaid.
Wow.
Breaking down film. And working with guys one-on-one and, like, you know, trying to show them, I did like one-on-one coaching sessions, if you will. We would just sit and watch film, show them what they could improve on, and just try to build them up that way in a way that they weren't getting from their coaches because their other coaches didn't have time. So I worked mostly with defense. I worked mostly with defensive line, and that probably comes through a lot on my Twitter because I'm a big D-line pass rush.
Yeah,
100%.
I saw your Simmons is your favorite player.
He is. I've watched. So my boyfriend went to Mississippi State, and he actually has a friend that is one of Jeff's fraternity brothers. And my boyfriend was like, "You gotta watch this guy." So we're watching Mississippi State football 4 years ago, I guess. It was like him and Montez Sweat.
Sweat.
On the same team, on the same line. And those guys together were insane. And I said 4 years ago, I was like, I don't think we'll get it. I don't think we'll get either one of them because we are always right in the middle because we're usually 8-8 or somewhere around there. Like, but God, if one of them falls to us, we'll be so lucky. And I wanted Jeff. And, watched him in college for 3 years.
Is there a reason why you wanted Jeff Simmons or you preferred his game versus Sweat or?
Not really. It was just I worked a lot with tackles. I did work with edge rushers some, but I worked a lot with tackles. And Albert Hainsworth, who's one of my podcast co-hosts, he is somebody that I loved. I also love Javon Curse. To me, it's the same kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Those guys bounced off each other a lot. So I loved Montez. I had some concerns because I don't know if you remember, but in that draft class, right before the draft, some doctor came out and said, "Hey, Montez has a heart condition." And his stock fell. So it turns out he doesn't. But when I heard that was a concern. But just from a swag and attitude and all that, Jeff is that dude, and we needed that in Tennessee. He fits the culture, and I think that's probably a big part of why I wanted him to.
Okay, yeah, I do remember the Montez Sweat. I do remember that being a part of his draft narrative, and that's great that he ended up not having that heart condition. But it's almost like, how do you make that mistake, Doc?
Right, and they mess with his money. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Mess with his money, and
time.
It's all. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm like, I don't know if you can sue a guy for that or kind of come after something because I mean that definitely isn't a good look. So we actually. No. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. For some reason, the audio's still working, but I don't know, the image is not it disappeared. This happened to me the other day, and a friend of mine was just like, "Man, just keep going because people can hear the audio." And I'm actually recording. I'm recording it through Zoom now, and I can actually put the template on it. So I mean, we can kind of just keep going. If you don't mind, because I would have to restart the whole Zoom thing and everything like that. But
no way I'm doing that. Whatever works for you.
So yeah, that's really cool. As far as when you were coaching, I guess what was one of your more, I guess, memorable experiences or kind of takeaways from your time as a coach on the D line?
So I'll give you two because they're both short. Probably the most memorable thing is something that'll stick out in my mind my entire life is, so Tennessee Tech is a small school, not very good at football. I was going there for school. I was not going there for a football team. Okay?
Right, yeah.
And they're not the best. But we got paid to go be University of Tennessee's homecoming game. And got to go out to Neyland, and I'm from Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm not a Tennessee fan, but my dad is an alum. So we got to go and go in the locker rooms and be on the field. And I was, I always held my job during the game, because I wasn't the D-line coach. I was a defensive quality control coach.
Okay.
So I worked kind of wherever I wanted on the defense, but I always gravitated towards the front seven. So it was my job to identify personnel during the game, and I had my little signs.
Okay.
So Josh Dobbs was still playing at that time, and when the game was over, I mean, we got our butts handed to us. It was so bad. It was embarrassing, but it was just crazy because I'm standing in the middle of one of the most iconic college football fields
stadiums
ever.
And, arenas, that's pretty cool.
It was so cool. But Josh Dobbs was like, "Are you coaching?" And I was like, I'm on the coaching side. And he was like, "Oh, that's dope." And I was just like, this is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
And he probably doesn't even remember that because homecoming's not a day that.
But you never know. He might, who knows how many other times he's seen female coaches on the sideline. So it could be just
right. And at that time, my
out to him.
Coaching staff told me I was the first. Now I don't feel like going through NCAA to
get your little 2 minutes of shine in your. I mean, it could.
I'm not interested in doing all that.
It might be worth it though. Now you got a podcast and you're doing the network thing. It might be worth it to go back and get that pub and maybe get you a Sports Center special, maybe. And you can be like, hey, yeah, and also check out my podcast. Next day, 50,000 new subscribers. You're like, yes.
Right. maybe it just got anything to do with the NCAA. NCAA is not super easy.
Yeah.
But it might be worth it eventually to just
Yeah.
go see, hey, was I really the first? Because my coaching staff was blowing smoke up my butt if I wasn't. But they told me I was. So that's memory number one. And then from like a coaching perspective, I just remember I had a guy, he was a defensive end. We're in a small school, so the guys are not built the way they are if they're in an SEC or Big Ten program. They're smaller.
A Power 5.
This guy was, he was like 6'4", maybe 6'5", 250 defensive end, and he could run a 4.37.
Wow.
Yeah, just crazy. But he had like no confidence in himself. He was young, and I don't know, what his high school coaches were like, but our DN coach was kind of like big brother to him. I mean, always hyping him up. And we were doing a drill in practice, and I was with the defensive ends that day, and they were just going one-on-one against the offensive line, trying to get back to the quarterback, get into the pocket. And he would always try to like swim out of a block or something like that, and it just wasn't working for him, and he would get frustrated. And I was like, look, man, like, you're huge, first of all, 6'5", 250, rounding up, and you're really fast, and he's strong if he's got those metrics, and I've seen him in the weight room, so I know he was strong. I was like, just go bull rush this guy. Have him on his butt, because this offensive lineman he was going up against, like, I obviously knew him, it was practice, and he was always off balance. So it's like a bull rush is pretty standard on that. Just go do it. Just go. And he's 20 years old, not thinking about that. And he did. The guy fell, and he got back into the pocket. And he turned around and looked at me like shocked that it worked. And I was like, bro,
most obvious thing ever, right?
Solution, but it was cool. It's like, how teachers talk about a light bulb moment being their favorite thing about teaching. That's how it was for coaching. It's just working with those guys, and when it clicked, it was just, that's what you do it for.
And that's really honestly pretty awesome, because it does go to show you that, like, sometimes it really takes somebody else sort of believing in you, or it just takes somebody kind of, believing in you, encouraging somebody else. Because, I mean, like you said, that dude had all the physical tools in the world, but for some reason he couldn't see himself that way. And I can relate to that. I mean, not that I'm 6'5", 270 pounds or anything, but just being like getting into content creation, or getting into, I'm an artist really by trade, or whatever you want to say. Like, that's what I went to school for. And I also, and for anybody who's watching along, we had some technical difficulties. I tried to get it fixed, but instead of redoing the stream and everything, we're just gonna kind of chug on through, and you guys can listen and use your imaginations. But and it just kind of took me a while. I've always kind of struggled with that as well, just like feeling like I can do it, and whether it's someone like yourself who said like, hey, I think you have a great personality, I think you'd be good at this, or other people I've worked with. I do like a little bit of photography and stuff like that, just telling you, you're talented, like you should be getting paid and you should be this, that. And it's just like, you just need those people sometimes. So, a little kudos to you for being that person for that guy. And I'm sure other people as well.
Thank you. Yeah. I hate it because he transferred the year that I left, just because we had all that coaching transition. And he transferred. I don't know where he went. I can't remember, but I don't know who he was working with or what, but he didn't make it to the NFL, and he was just somebody, like, I wanted him to make it so bad. Yeah. Because he had it. Yeah. But I guess he just didn't have the right people around him, whether it was coaches or players or what, to get him that opportunity. But that's what I loved about, and that's what I loved about being in small schools too, is like, there were obviously like 90% of the guys that you knew weren't going to have a shot. Yeah. But then there were that 10% that maybe didn't believe in themselves because they had to go to a small school. Because that's what the only place they get school paid for. Or, they didn't have the right people in their corner back home, so they had to come to a small school. And it's just fun working with guys like that who have the raw talent. Yeah. And should make it on, like, by that metric. Yeah. And just trying to push them there. Because we did have a couple guys make it, but, damn, there were more that should have. And, it's just the harsh reality of that world, being a professional athlete. Hard. It
is, man. That's why the guys who do end up making it are, it's funny. One year or I was thinking one time, I was like, man, you know, we really ought to stop saying this guy's a bum or this guy is this, that, and the third. Because it's like,
right.
you know, like at the end of the day, all these guys, whether he's not as good as some other player, like he still made it to the NFL, which is like a 1 in a billion chance. And he's still getting paid to play this game. And here I am, like sitting at home, you know, doing nothing and just doing nothing. Like, you know, like this guy's busting his tail every single day in practice and shit. It's like, you know, but hey, you know, that's why we're fans and that's why we're crazy, because we like to just make you know, crazy statements and say, oh, this guy's a bust. Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, all these dudes are like super talented, like insanely just gifted. So. All right, that was a story time with Anna Lewis. But no, that's a great. What should I want to say? Yeah, it's a great story. Honestly, it is a great story, and I just wanted to kind of get that on record, and I just wanted to let the viewers know that you are the real deal when it comes to this doing this football thing. So. As you know, as most people know, the Packers are going to be taking on the Tennessee Titans this week in a clash of Titans, NFC Titans, AFC Titans. It's going to be, I think, it is the game of the week, as you can say, like the premier game, the Sunday night game, and I'm excited. I'm actually supposed to be working like I'm going to be doing the live broadcast for that game during on Twitch. I'll be live streaming on Twitch for that, and I think I'm going to get some confirmation if I can speak. I don't know if they're like talking about it yet, but I'm supposed to be kind of like partnering up with them to be doing some sort of like live event that they're doing. So I guess I should ask if I could like promote it. I guess I can. I mean, it's coming this Sunday, so I would imagine that I can promote it. But yeah, I'm excited about that. That should be cool. Which kind of goes to what I was saying about. I feel like the live sports market is very, very up for grabs on Twitch, and I'm looking to tear it down. Just like hopefully the Green Bay Packers will be able to tear down your Titans this weekend. So let's get into some of the matchup talk. Okay, I was reading this weekend actually, and I've seen it a few other places that now the Titans have actually overtaken the Packers as the top offense in the NFL. They're taking
over the Chiefs, man.
And the Packers were number one at first. I thought the Packers were number one for a while, and then I think the Chiefs may have jumped in there for like a game or something, but then you guys jumped over them. But most of the season, it had been the Packers, and I was talking to a friend last night. I was like, you know, we were trying to talk about like how the Packers could win or how this game would go, and I said, as confident as you feel about this Packers offense, you should be as equally terrified of this Tennessee Titans offense, because that's how good they are. They might not have a future Hall of Famer at quarterback, but they might have a future Hall of Fame running back. So it's like you definitely need to people. I don't think people are really aware of how good Tannehill has been playing this year, how good A.J. Brown and Corey Davis are as a tandem, and just how potent this offense is. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that to start out?
Yeah, so I hope that some of the people that hate on me on Twitter see this, and I promoted it out to my Twitter hoping they'd hop on, because a lot of people think that I don't like Ryan Tannehill. That's not the case. I just don't. I've seen people compare him to Aaron Rodgers. No. And you as a Packers fan is going to go, oh my God, like what?
It doesn't make me cringe, but it's just like come on, that's a bit much. It's not cringe.
Settle down, children.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not as bad as some people in Vikings Twitter saying that Kirk Cousins is better than Aaron Rodgers. That's not nearly as cringy, but
so they're just on drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. They need to be what's it called? They need to be checked in or something.
Yeah. I have not seen that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of Titans fans, and there's people that are in the Titans media saying Ryan Tannehill deserves to be in MVP conversations. Like, hell no.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to cuss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You could. Fuck yeah.
Okay,
yeah, you can.
I didn't know. I was trying to read through it.
No.
I figured it was fine. Derrick Henry is that.
I need a cussing aloud sign in the background.
You do.
Please cuss in like neon.
Henry's that dude.
No.
And a lot of people say, well, why wasn't Derrick Henry performing before Ryan Tannehill got here? Well, because Derrick Henry was benched for Dion Lewis.
Yeah.
Dion Lewis was trash here.
Yeah.
So Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill complement each other really well.
They do.
And that's all I've been saying all season is that tandem.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the A.J. Brown, Corey Davis tandem, which is phenomenal.
It is.
Talk about that Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry tandem because they play off each other so well. I was watching a YouTube video actually that it was somebody that plays Madden, and that's all they do on YouTube. But he was playing as the Tennessee Titans. And he was like, man, when I play like this offense is unstoppable. And what it is he ran the numbers, and over 400 passing plays for the season, we run almost 200 play action.
Wow.
So the run is always an option, and
yeah.
people fail to realize that. So as long as Derrick Henry's cooking, I'm not worried about the rest. Am I worried about AJ dropping up in 24-degree weather? Yeah, I am. It's supposed to be cold up there with y'all.
Does he have a history of the dropsies? Is that kind of one of his things?
He drops really big ones.
Okay.
Like really big ones. So
and we're not talking about in the bathroom, folks.
No, like he does that. He did it in Florida when it was 85 degrees. So like it's not, it's not. Oh, it's chilly in Tennessee. It's just he, for whatever reason, when it gets here, he loses that connection. And I don't know what it is, but we have something that people don't talk about a lot is our tight end game. Our tight ends.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Shuffle.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you. Okay.
They're not big names, but like Anthony Ferkser, you know who that is?
No, I do not know.
See?
And that was going to be.
Not a big name.
Okay.
Not a big name, but that's our go-to guy on third down, and he gets it almost every time. So watch.
Okay, that's look. I'm gonna put that on. I'm gonna do players to watch. He's an Anthony
Ferkser.
How you spell that?
Firkser.
Okay, Anthony Ferkser, tight end. Okay, I'm getting some inside information. That's why I wanted to bring you on. Hey, everybody who might need a tight end this week, if you're like strapped in your fantasy team, you're going into the championship round, Anthony Ferkser might be a guy. If you can't pick up Robert Tanyan, who's tied for the league, I believe, with a tight end receptions with 10 on the season or 9.
Yeah,
I think it's 9 or 10.
Doing
But he did not, surprisingly, make the Pro Bowl over Evan Ingram, who has only one single touchdown the whole year. But we're not going to talk about that. So
I have so many thoughts about the Pro Bowl.
I mean, it's become completely irrelevant to the point where I feel like they need to figure out what they even want to do with that thing, because it's almost like it's just useless. I think it's absolutely useless right now as a because the voting, the fans vote, and it's just like I don't really. The people don't really play in the games anymore. It's not really meaningful at all. Like, it doesn't really do anything. It's at the end of the year, and half the people who get in don't even get a chance to play in the game because they just don't want to go and hurt themselves, or they're in the Super Bowl, So it's like all the best players. So it's like, I don't know. I would like to sit down and actually have a conversation about maybe what the NFL should do about that. But we're talking Green Bay, Tennessee. We're getting this. We're getting the scoop from Anna _Lewis35 on Twitter. You guys can add her. You can get all your, you can follow her if you want to talk some trash during the game on Sunday night. You can get at her. If you guys maybe want to get any more inside information before the big day, she's got it all. And we're talking about, I guess, players to watch for the Tennessee team. You mentioned Ryan Tannehill. You mentioned this tight end Anthony Fisker, but I wanted to talk about Ryan Tannehill a little bit more because I'm actually you were saying, and I think maybe we got a little sidetracked, but you were just saying that you think he's like a game manager, right? And I've seen you say that about him on Twitter, and you, like you said, you kind of catch some flack for that, but you also preface that or with a little asterisk saying like you don't mean that in a negative way. And I know exactly what you mean, because I think game manager, it used to really have a negative connotation, and I feel like it still does. But when you say game manager, talk to me a little bit about why you think Tannehill is a game manager? And then would you say he is, of the managers of the game, would you put him at the top there? Do you think he's one of the better game managers in the NFL?
Absolutely. So I think he's top 10. Which
a top 10 quarterback, right?
Thing to say.
No,
yeah.
I don't think it's crazy at all. I would confidently say that he's, and he's closer to the 5, closer to that 5 area than the 10. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, obviously there's some untouchables, but he's probably 7, 8, 9 in there.
Yeah.
It depends on the week, but I mean he puts up good numbers. But here's the thing, people probably want to kill me at this point.
It's okay.
But
this is a safe space. This is a safe space. You can talk.
Yeah, until they've come find me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not gonna. This show's only gonna be about an hour and a half at top. So after that, I can't protect you. But while you're here, you're safe.
I appreciate it. So
you're welcome.
Since Ryan Tannehill has taken over our offense last year, Derrick Henry has been playing as well.
Yeah.
And if Derrick Henry doesn't have 100 yards or more, we're 5-7. If he has over 100 yards, we're 14-2.
Yeah.
So
it's a good stat right there.
That's all I need. Like I had somebody call me elementary last week or a couple days ago for saying that was all I needed. But you can say Ryan Tannehill is leading top offense in the NFL with this and this and this. That's great. Mm-hmm. But who on his team is helping him look like that?
Yeah.
It's not all him.
Yeah.
When it's Aaron Rodgers up there with whatever receivers you've had the past several years, it's Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean?
Or the coach who now couldn't even win a handful of games in Dallas.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't even go back and you say, maybe Rodgers was a little more instrumental in the success of this team over the last decade, more than maybe some others want to give him credit for. I remember there's this clip of like Terry Bradshaw from like a few years back saying like, if he has to choose between Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, I think it's like right after the Super Bowl, like 2012 kind of year, like maybe 12, 13, like when it was starting to be reported that, Rodgers and McCarthy, weren't really getting along. And he was saying, I take the coach every time. You can always get another quarterback. And so it's like, now he just looks really stupid. He looks really dumb saying that.
That's
bad.
That's
but
bad.
Back to your Titans, okay, and Tannehill and him managing the game. I agree with what you said. I mean, but at the same time, I think that is honestly like some beautiful football, and I honestly wish that the Packers would adapt a little more of that philosophy, and I do think that Matt LaFleur, and this is like a nice little storyline that I just realized. Matt LaFleur was your offensive coordinator there for a little bit, so you have a little bit of history or knowledge or experience with Matt LaFleur, and I remember he caught a lot of shit for that year because the offense wasn't really doing that great after Mariota, or as the commissioner once said, Mariotto.
Oh no.
Do you remember that when he butchered his name during the draft? Oh my gosh, it was like the draft. Like it was during it was like when he was y'all selected him number 2 overall, or and Goodell gets up there and he says, the Tennessee Titans take what's his first name? Marcus Mariotto or something like he's Japanese or something. I mean, it was just it was just horrible. But
that's not good. So one thing that I think people are failing to acknowledge when they want to come at me for my take on Ryan Tannehill. So if you look at our playoff run last year, I don't know if you watched any of those games, but they were Derrick Henry dominant games. They were also great defensive games. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're struggling this year. Mm-hmm. But as far as like rushing versus passing yards, against Baltimore, New England was first. So against New England, we had 201 rushing yards. Yeah. 71 passing yards. Right. Against Baltimore, we had 217 rushing yards, 83 passing yards. Right. And then you go to Kansas City, they hold Derrick Henry down to 85, which is still a good running back performance. I mean, yeah. Like, you can't get upset about that, but all they did was load the box. Yeah. And then we just froze. Tannehill still had over 200 yards, but it was 210, and we didn't win.
Yeah.
So you can't depend on Tannehill. When I say someone's a game manager, it's because I know I can't depend on that person to win. We needed Tannehill to win that game, and he didn't. And the games that we've lost this year have been for that reason.
Well, I think that's an interesting point because actually I wanted to bring this up, because I was talking to a friend of mine and I told him I said that, you know, I was trying to think like how could the Packers win this game, or or like what if someone said, okay, this is going to happen, do you think they can win or lose? Like if they can hold Henry, I don't even think it's possible for them to hold him to under 100 yards. So I'm going to just say like 150. If they can just hold him to like 150 or like less than under 150, anything under 150 in a single touchdown, I like their chances to be in the game. But if they let him have one of these days where he's got 180, 190, 200, 230, 200, like it's I don't think they stand a chance in hell, because that to me is like they're going to be controlling the clock. They're going to have the time of possession, and if the Packers then don't sustain drives and as much as people want to say that this is a really good offense, and I think that it is, they've now put 3 games on film this year where they've been either completely shut out of a game in Tampa Bay or in Indianapolis, and last week in Carolina where they were basically shut out of the second half after scoring 21 plus points. In both of those games in the first half looking pretty good, they come out the second half, all they do is get a field goal. Indianapolis, they lose because Indianapolis is a good team. They're a playoff team. Right. Carolina, they are able to beat them because Carolina is a bad team. They're missing maybe one of the best players in football. They're young. They have a rookie head coach. And so I said to him, and we looked it up. When you guys played the Browns, you won that game, correct?
No, we lost.
You lost. Okay, so and they held Henry to under 100 yards. He had like 64 yards or 67 yards rushing. Yep. But it was still a shootout. And I said that I feel like that is going to be the way for the Packers to win, because we know that the Tennessee Titans don't really have a great defense. They've only got like 14 sacks on the year, like all together or something crazy. Like they don't really do that well in the passing game. And I want to get to that a little bit more in a second. But I identified this as the way the Packers have to win. Is they're going to have to win a shootout, and they're going to have to find a way to just commit everything to Derrick Henry and say, yeah, we're going to play man and just see if Tannehill can beat us. Because, I mean, Tannehill, he showed maybe he's had some improvement from last year in that playoff run. Because I feel like I have him as my fantasy quarterback. So there's definitely been some games where I've seen him like go off, like 3 touchdown, 4 touchdown games, 300 yards. And another underestimated part of his game is he actually can really run. I mean, he's not like on Kyler Murray or
he hit 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, no, he's not quite on the Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson level, but he's like in that tier, like right underneath them of guys who are a legitimate like dual threat quarterbacks, even though they don't really run the offense for him to be a dual threat. But if you give him a space, he will take that and he will get 10, 15 yards. And like last week, he ran it out from like 20 yards out he had like what, two rushing touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So to go along with his 3 passes. So it's like man, like this dude he's a real threat, and Green Bay has not historically, since I've been a fan, really handled dual threat quarterbacks all that well. And I think, we have Jair Alexander, who's playing lights out this year. He's playing at an all-pro level. As of late, Adrian Amos and Savage have been playing better, but I think they're susceptible in the back end. So I really think this could be like a shootout kind of game.
I think it's going to be. And what I said on our show yesterday was whoever, not in the first half, because for whatever reason, if we can be down 30 points in the first half, and we might not come back and win, but we put up a fight. Mm-hmm. Coach Vrabel's really good at getting these guys fired up if he has a chance to get them in the locker room. So first half stuff, of course, it matters, and we want it to be close. But if you guys force a really big turnover in the second half, or if we force a really big turnover in the second half, I think that tells you who wins.
Yeah.
And the reason, if I'm looking at it objectively, not even as a fan, obviously Aaron Rodgers is a huge threat, especially to our very poor secondary. So I'm scared of that. But our defense creates so many turnovers.
They do.
So we had 3 last week, and then we also had a turnover on down, so technically 4.
Okay.
And I mean that's big, and they're really good at stepping up in big moments. So I think that's a key there. And then I think, I'm looking at the numbers from last December, because that's when our running game really takes off. And when the cold weather comes around, nobody wants to hit Derrick Henry because he hurts.
Yeah, nobody wants to hit him.
He really hurts when it's cold.
Yeah.
And
that dude, honestly, he could have charges pressed against him for what he does to people on Sundays. Honestly, some of that stuff is assault. Yeah, no. Honestly, some of that stuff is assault. Like it really is. What he did to that dude last week, I was like, the way it just sounded, like I couldn't imagine how it sounded live in person, but the way it just sounded through this, like the speaker, I'm just like, man, that is assault.
So I was there, and it got quiet before people started cheering, because everyone was just like,
yeah,
like, oh my god. Because when he did it to Josh Norman against the Bills, it was like smooth.
Yeah.
So he just kind of glided.
Yeah.
This guy,
it's more like Tai Chi.
He gets called up from the practice squad for his first game. Buddy called his family and said, I'm going to be on TV. Make sure you tune in. And he gets the...
Yeah, no, it was like...
Yeah.
I was like, good Lord. No, that was honestly... It's like, if he did that to him in the parking lot, that's assault. Like, you can't stab somebody on the football field and get away with it. Like, so why should Derrick Henry be allowed to maul people every Sunday and not have charges pressed against him?
You're just scared. You don't want it to happen to your guy.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, it can, and it probably will. Look, I went on record, and I said, as much as I want Green Bay to win this game, if Henry is having that kind of game where he's already in the 220, 250, 260 range, it's like, just go on and break the record. Like, honestly, just get 300 and just make it a historical day. So at least
we can at least enjoy it.
Yeah, at least I can be like, I witnessed history. At least, you know what I'm saying? Because I actually remember watching the Adrian Peterson game too when he broke the record with 296.
Oh, yeah.
So
that was awesome.
But
when you look at the numbers, because everybody goes back to December when they're talking about Derrick Henry, and they call it D-Hember in Tennessee.
Okay, D-Hember. Okay.
Because it's just time.
All right, there we go.
We had 5 games last December, and he went for 154, 161, 163, 149, and 245.
Jeez Louise, yeah.
Like, he hit 150 4 out of 5 times.
Yeah.
And the one game he didn't, he was 1 yard short.
Yeah.
So, like, he's just different.
He's a different kind of beast. He's a different kind of guy. And do you think that he should be seriously considered for MVP, or do you say that, or do you understand, the Mahomes Rodgers kind of 2-man race, or do you think that it should really be a 3-man race and people should be a little more open and receptive to giving it to a running back this year?
Yeah, so because I coach defense, I've always thought that the MVP race was bullshit, because it was always just for quarterbacks. Because if you look at the Titans, can't remember the year, but Javon Curse's rookie year, he wasn't like MVP of the league, but if you looked at his impact on that team, he needs to be in conversations like MVP of that team and MVP of that conference. I know they don't give those awards, but that's just an example where he was a defensive end.
Yeah.
Like, there are other players that will never get that recognition and never get that award because they don't play the right position. And that's always a gripe I've had with it, because you can't say, Patrick Mahomes has, 4,500 passing yards or something like that,
yeah,
or he's about to hit 4,000 or something.
No, he's got more than 4,000, but yeah, he's probably closer to 5,000 now than he is.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because he's ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers is ridiculous. But those guys are over 4,000 at this point, and that's all air. But what they do requires another person, and I mean, your receiver, Tyree Kill, is a monster.
Yeah.
Tyree Kill deserves to be in some conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a game where he had almost 300 yards in a quarter, so
yeah,
that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, like, there are other players that Patrick Mahomes is dependent on his receivers catching the ball. Aaron Rodgers is dependent on his receivers catching the ball.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry does that shit all by himself.
I mean, well, you got the offensive line, though. They got a block. And,
absolutely.
I mean, do you guys have...
The offensive line blocks for the quarterback, too.
That's true. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right. But would you say that the Titans have a really good offensive line? Would you say they have about an average offensive line? Do you think they do one thing better than the other, or?
Yeah, our offensive line is really beat down right now.
Okay.
We've had a lot of injuries.
All right.
Obviously,
you hear that, Green Bay fans? They're susceptible. They're wounded.
Like, we lost Tanner Lewan to a torn ACL.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then Roger Saffold's been struggling with his back, I think. And he's an All-Pro. He wasn't All-Pro this year, or Pro Bowl, but he was when he was out with the Rams. He was a Super Bowl with them. And we've got some other guys that step up. Nate Davis, Ben Jones. These guys are good. They're good.
Yeah.
They're not Indianapolis's.
Yeah.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put them. I think your offensive line is really good. I also just think you have a really good quarterback too.
No,
they work off each other really well, but. No, the reason I think Derrick Henry deserves to be in the conversation is what I said earlier. The Titans don't win if Derrick Henry's not going on.
Yeah.
So if we make it to the AFC Championship game, if we see you guys in the Super Bowl, if we beat Patrick Mahomes, to me that takes Patrick Mahomes out of the race because he's the most valuable player on his team, but he didn't take his team past the Titans. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends on who gets where. And if Derrick Henry does what I think he's going to do and pushes us really far in the playoffs, he has to be in that conversation.
He should.
So we'll see. Running backs get disrespected left and right. So, I've been watching ESPN heavy and NFL Network and all that, just seeing what they have to say. And they don't talk about the Titans a lot. They talk about the Packers. They talk about the Cowboys for God knows why. And they talk about the Chiefs.
Because Jerry's got them in their pocket. Jerry's got the NFL in his pocket.
He does. But it's like, there are other teams that deserve to be talked about. The Browns deserve to be in conversations. The Bills deserve to be in conversations.
No, the Bills definitely. And I'll say this. I think I would personally and unbiasedly even give it to Aaron Rodgers because I think that it's been shown that when he's not quarterbacking this team, like they can't even win 5 games, So like, I just think he personally is probably more, not personally, but he specifically is probably one of the more valuable players to his team than a lot of other players. Now, I agree with you that, as you pointed out, Derrick Henry is very valuable to that team, but I still think if they replaced him or if he couldn't go, that, well, I can't even really say that honestly, that you could I still think running backs it's not easy to replace a running back, but I think that you can get similar production. Now, you're not going to get 1,600 yards and everything else that he does, but I don't know, that's actually kind of a good one. That's actually a really good argument, like who I think I'll say this. I think Derrick Henry and Aaron Rodgers are more valuable to their teams than Patrick Mahomes is to the Chiefs. To me, because but they've won games. They've won games without Mahomes, and even before Mahomes was there, they had won that division 2 years prior to him being there with Alex Smith. Now, are they the Super Bowl explosive offense? Maybe not, but at the same time, they also didn't have all the weapons that they have now when Alex Smith was there. Right. They had some of the worst wide receivers in the game. I mean, they had Gonzalez for a while, but I mean, he was towards the end of his career, and then he went to Atlanta for a few years. So they didn't even really have Kelsey and Hill and all these guys they have now. And when they had Hunt, and now they've got this rookie, and they got Shady McCoy, and it's like, I think I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if the Chiefs would be a Super Bowl favorite, but they can still make the playoffs. To me, they can still win games. They may be a 6 or 7 seed, but I don't. If you take Green Bay, if you take Aaron Rodgers off the Packers, they're not even probably making the playoffs as a 7 seed. If like I said, we haven't really seen it so much, but as you pointed out, when you don't, we haven't seen Derrick Henry miss a long stretch of games to my knowledge. In recent years, he's been pretty healthy, but it's like, as you pointed out, when he doesn't have a very productive day, it is a lot harder for your team to find success, and you have to ask more of Tannehill, and he hasn't proven thus far to really be capable of carrying a team. So I think I would.
Here's another fun stat I think you'd appreciate. If you take Derrick Henry's just yards after contact, he is the third rushing running back in the league.
Wow, just after contact, he's still
he gets 1,245 yards.
Wow,
after
contact. That's like you said, that's a different kind of.
Nobody else gives you that.
Yeah, no one else gives you that. So
you asked about that offensive line, and they blocked that first 3 or 4 yards, but he's still hitting people
afterwards.
You know
what I mean? or
he
even
blocks for himself.
Yeah, he's his own extra blocker. That's actually impressive. Another 1,200 yards after contact. That's like most of his yards after contact. So, I mean, that does kind of, speak to your point of this offensive line. It's good, but it's not great. He still gets a lot of contact, and I would imagine that I would like to see a graphic of like where that contact happens. I would imagine that it's probably closer to the line of scrimmage than not, because usually, once if he does break past that secondary that second line of defense, he's usually gone. It's not really, you don't really have a good chance of catching him, which is why he's really so incredible, because he's not only big and physical, but he has legitimate game breaking. I mean, he has 2 99-yard rushing touchdowns, doesn't he? Which is like insane.
Yeah, I've seen him in person too, and I know you've never met me in person, but I'm 6'2". Like,
oh wow,
it takes a lot for me to be like, oh wow, I feel little.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, she dates one of the players on the team, so I've gotten to interact with some of those people, and just they're smaller guys because they play skill positions.
Yeah.
Saw Derrick Henry in person, and he was like far away, but even from far away, I was just like, how? Like, he's just a rock. I mean, he's what, 250, 6'5"?
Yeah, no, is he 6'5"?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Have you ever seen a picture of him next to his offensive line?
He does. Yeah, I thought he was more like 6'3", but I mean, even still, I mean, that's still like that puts him up there for like. But I mean, 6'5", like how the hell did he even? Wow.
I might be wrong. Hold on.
But even still, I mean, even if he's like 6'3", to me,
he is 6'3". That's not bad.
No, but even still, I mean, as a 6'3", 250 pound, and he's like, he's got a long frame too. Like he's got the long legs, and he's got the stride, and he like runs really kind of like upright.
He's clearly got the extension.
And he's got the extension. He's got the reach. I mean, he could have been a boxer. Fucking.
Right.
So. We did a lot of lip service to the offense. One more question about the offense. As far as on game day, who do you think is the bigger threat in the passing game? Who's been more consistent all year? Who do you think is the better of the two between Davis and Brown? It's hard
because this year Corey Davis has had, I think, 5 games where he's gone over 100 yards, and AJ doesn't have that. But AJ drops big plays, but he also makes really big plays in the right moment. So tangibles, I'd have to say Corey.
Okay.
But intangibles, I go AJ, and I know I might get ragged on for that, but that's just off of a feeling.
Yeah.
Because they are that tandem, they bounce back and forth, and it's been true all season. I said it week 2. I was like, it became really apparent that if AJ had a good game this week, next week it's going to be Corey. Yeah. And what's happening is teams are game planning for AJ.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we got to put, our top guy on AJ. And then Corey's open. And they just have to keep bouncing back and forth. So AJ is due for his big game. And that's why because Corey had one this past week.
Okay, so if you're going to, that would be your other player to watch. I mean, aside from, of course, Derrick Henry. I mean, but you said Anthony Fisker, and then you're saying AJ Brown this week. You think is going to have is going to be the guy. But okay, but who's the bigger, faster, like more guy? Are they both kind of like the same physically, or is one really more of the deep threat guy, and the other one's more of the kind of move the sticks, kind of over the middle?
Slants.
Yeah, okay.
They both do a lot of slants, a lot of out routes. So, I mean, I want to say, you see AJ do more deep routes, but then we see Corey Davis. He scored off of a one-play drive on Sunday. So it's hard because they're almost the same.
Okay.
AJ he's a bigger, more physical guy. But
that's what I thought.
Corey is very aggressive. So in his way, he's not afraid to try to stiff arm you.
Right.
Depending on who it is, it might not be successful.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hey, man, you AJ Brown, Anthony Fisker, there's some good stuff right there. I want to move on. I do want to move on to the defense because you mentioned it. They're not really getting a lot of this in the sack category this year, and they're not really. They're kind of, I guess, like middle of the league in most of their kind of statistical categories. But you did mention something that's interesting to me, and I didn't find it or see it. But you said they're getting a lot of turnovers. But I was going through the injury report and just kind of like just the injury report and just kind of like who you guys have. And you guys have you have some names in that. I feel like there's some notable names on this defense, especially like in the secondary. I mean, you got Kevin Byard. I mean, Harold Landry. I feel like I know he hasn't been in the league for a while, but I feel like I know that he wasn't drafted. Was he drafted by the Titans?
Yes.
Landry was okay.
I'm not good at this.
Okay, but Malcolm Butler. I mean, Amani Hooker. I remember that was a name that I heard in the draft. It's like you guys have some talent in the back end. Why do you think it hasn't really been as productive or produced like maybe I guess the coaching staffs or the GMs or would have hoped, or even fans would have hoped? And then what do you kind of attribute to their success with the turnovers this year or in the recent games?
So we have, like you said, a tremendously talented defensive roster.
Yeah.
We don't have a defensive coordinator. And
I do remember we talked about this one time on Twitter.
It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
And it pains me so much because, I was talking about on our podcast last night when we were recording, I had somebody come at me and say, why do you love Jeffrey Simmons so much if, he's not getting sacks? Well, first of all, he's a D tackle and it's not his fucking job.
Right.
A. B. They're trying to use him. So he's a guy that he's strong. He's 3'10", 6'5". He is 6'5". And he's just an ox. He's huge.
Yeah.
And
it's a big boy.
He's effective going straight up the middle. And they try to have him run little fancy stunts and shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And he also is coming off an ACL tear last year. So why do you want him moving laterally anyways?
Yeah.
It's just my personal opinion. And then when we had Clowney, they were making him run stunts with Jeff to have him go up the A-gap right up the middle and have Jeff go outside. Well, Clowney's the edge rusher.
Yeah.
So it's just the stuff they were doing. You could tell it's Shane Bowen and Mike Vrabel. Shane Bowen's our linebacker coach. Obviously, Mike Vrabel's our head coach. They won't hire a defensive coordinator. The whole reason that you hire a defensive coordinator is so shit like that doesn't happen. And I don't know. It's frustrating because I'm one of the people that believe that Clowney did what he needed to do to earn a spot on our team next year, and I hope that we sign him. And I apologize, my cat is very nosy. And
no, it's okay. We're family friendly. We're pet friendly on the show. Yeah, we're pet friendly. We we don't have any no qualms with the pets.
Right. So And then with our secondary, for 12 weeks, every single one of our guys was giving the receivers 10 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
It sounds like some shit Mike Pettin would do. Our defensive coordinator.
So when you combine those two things, so you have no pressure, and then you have no pressure on the secondary, and then you're banking on your linebackers to clean up the mess in the middle, but they're running every which way because what they're doing doesn't make sense either. Mm-hmm. It's just a hot mess. Mm. And I actually heard in interviews, I heard some of the defensive players after games that they lost. You know, everybody puts a loss on the defense, even if it's, you know, it wasn't a productive day on offense.
Yeah.
Which a lot of them this year have been the defense's fault. I think it was Kevin Byard. They said, what do you think's wrong? And he said, there's a lack of coordination in our unit. And I was like, that's an interesting word.
I mean, that's not even really a subtle shot. That's kind of like almost low-key like a direct shot. Like, we have no D coordinator. The coordination sucks. Hire. I mean, what is the? I mean, does the media ever like try to get Vrabel or the GM to say why they haven't done that? Do they bring that up a lot, or has he kind of like taken?
All the time.
Does he answer it, or does he take the stance of like, you know, stop asking me about it, or like he doesn't want to reveal why, or like what is that about?
Vrabel is very much a student of Belichick and how he answers questions.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it's, no, I don't think that's the problem.
Right. Okay.
No, it's not the problem. That's how.
Yeah.
He'll go, we have to coach better, we have to play better, and then we'll win football games.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he answers questions. So I'm like, bro, just call me. I'll come help for
there
free.
you go.
Like,
there you go.
Like, I watch hours of Titans film
anyways. I'm already doing the job. You don't. We can just do it all remotely. I'll just, once a week we can just go over the game plan. I can be here, and you guys, I'm watching the game. You know, I can have my headset on, or I could like radio in and be like, hey, I think we need to shift our lineman over a little bit.
And what's crazy is like I've talked to Albert Hainsworth so much about it because the defensive unit he played with was not complicated. They didn't run stupid shit. They didn't try to be fancy. They didn't do, you know how like the Chiefs right now, their offense is just, they're playing games. They're just doing whatever they can to have fun. I don't like defenses that do that. And obviously, like I was talking about their offense, but when defenses try to get too fancy, they fuck up. Yeah. And that's just how it goes. Hey, 100%.
You're talking to a Packers fan here. Like, I mean, half like every. I made the comment. I said if you haven't tweeted Fire Pettin once at least a game, I feel like you're not a real Packers fan. Like honestly, if you haven't tweeted Fire Pettin,
I'll tweet it on Sunday just to poke some buttons.
Just the face of respect. You're Fire, but no, you might want to say keep Pettin, extend Pettin.
Right, extend him.
Because
if we just had someone that we have, I'll just run through our talented roster. I'm gonna miss some people. Jeffrey Simmons. We had Clowney. We had Jayon Brown, who, in my opinion, is one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He broke his arm and elbow, which was on a dirty hit, which sucked. We have Rashawn Evans, Malcolm Butler, Kevin Byard, Kenny Vaccaro. Like, just Adoree.
Yeah, Vaccaro. Yeah, that.
So you have all those guys, and a lot of them are veterans at this point, and they look like sometimes they don't know what they're doing. And it's not their fault. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah. I think I've never known the team to not have a defensive coordinator, and coming from a Packers fan, like I said, we have a defensive coordinator who, as you said, likes to do some fancy shit, and he likes to try to he's notorious for basically allowing teams to run on him. He's gone on record like in these conference calls and these media availabilities, and in the media has talked about this and asked him about this, and he's basically gone on record, and I'm paraphrasing, and said like, yeah, you can run over on my defense. Like by design, my defense is designed to let you run on it because he feels as though losing in the passing game is the quickest way to lose, and he's not wrong, and he thinks that is the more, I guess,
But you can low key pass on your defense too. So
yeah, I mean,
not as much as you can run on it.
And that's my point. I'm like, if you're going to do that, if you're going to say that, then your passing unit needs to be like top 2 in the league. Like, you can't be like, yeah, we're selling out against the pass, and I'm all about the passing game and the passing game and the passing game. And then you have like it's gotten better. I think right now the Packers are like 8th overall. They're kind of like 12 to 8 in like just about every sort of category. So it's gotten better on paper. When I still watch the games, however, the last 3 games I feel like have really improved their statistical performance. And if you look at the games, they've gotten turnovers. They've been able to really, they're getting more 3 and outs. They're getting more pressure. Everything's getting better. They're kind of turning the corner finally. And 2 weeks ago, it was reported that Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, Kenny Clark, they all went to Mike Pettin and they said to him like outside of the meeting, whatever, they went to him like on a one-on-one and they were like coach, we gotta simplify, to your point, this defense.
Yeah.
You're doing a little too much and nobody's really having the kind of year we want to have. Last year, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith combined for the most sacks of any 2 guys in the National Football League. Preston Smith has he doesn't even have 5 sacks on the year this year.
Right.
He's been dropping into a lot of coverage. He's been, I guess, having him do a lot of just, like you said, weird stuff. And to me, that's a fireable offense. Anytime I look out in the field and I see Preston Smith, big ass, out there on an island covering anybody. I don't care if he was covering a damn tackle eligible. I don't want him covering any fucking body on an island on a down where you think they're about to pass. Now, maybe if you think they're about to run some kind of screen out there, okay, that's like some next level shit. But if you really think they're about to pass the ball and you got his ass out there on anybody, that's like a fireable offense to me. And he's done it multiple. He's done it multiple times. It's not even like they got caught in the wrong defense, the wrong alignment, or some shit. He's done that multiple times. It's intentional. Like this, when he was watching tape, he said, "You know what? I think might work. Put Preston Smith out there on a tight end. Like, how the fuck can you think that's gonna work, bro? Like, what are you watching?"
I'm gonna pick on you.
Go ahead, please. Pick on us. Pick on me.
Because you were not the only Packers fan that I've heard say, "Oh, the last 3 games our defense looked better."
Yeah.
But y'all played the Eagles, the Lions, and the Panthers.
And
in that Eagles game, isn't that the game they changed quarterback?
They did, and they actually kind of came back a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
So you are
a Jalen Hurts fan. So
me too. Actually,
that was fun.
Yeah, me too.
But,
I'm actually.
I wanted y'all to lose too, so I just had a little moral victory on my end. But
look, you're preaching to the choir here. Like, I don't feel like there's a more sort of hard, as much as I love this team and I'm all about this team, I'm very, very critical. I'm very show me the stats, show me the stats, but also show me with my eyes. I need to see. I'm a big eye test guy, I'm a really big, I see it when I believe it kind of person. And I always say that, and even I get in a lot of heat on Packers Twitter talking about, right now, I think the Packers are the 4th best team in the league. So and I would say that yes, the defense has shown better, but yeah, that would be my exact go-to rebuttal to anyone who's taking that and kind of running with it, the Packers defense is getting better. I'm well, slow down. They played a rookie starting for the first time and 2 other teams that are really bad. So it's
yeah, and that's how I've had to be too, because a lot of people think. So what gets held against me all the time is that I think Ryan Tannehill is a game manager, and I mean that with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
And that I think that our defense is talented. People don't understand what that means at its base. They are talented. It does not mean they're performing.
No.
So then when they have a good game or they have a turnover or something like that, I'll throw something out on Twitter and be like, "Oh, y'all want to talk shit about the defense now?" And it's really just me being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But people don't people on Twitter don't know me. So
tongue in cheek. Right? What does that even mean?
They don't pick up on any of it. But then they're like, "Oh yeah, it is right. The defense is getting no.
No. That's not what I said.
We hit a man that played with broken ribs.
Yeah.
And he still scored 25 points.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and honestly, I made this comparison to the other day. I said, I feel like the Tennessee Titans are actually kind of like the Packers of the AFC, like low key. Like I feel like they're. I mean, they have one more loss. They have one more loss, but outside of that, I mean, offensively, they're about the same, and I think, they've got kind of like the same level of talent, sort of, kind of spread out, well, maybe where you might have it here, we might have it there, but just when you put them all together, and then they have the issues on defense, even though they are really talented on both sides of the ball, they sort of don't always put it together, or they have these games where they have these lulls or whatever. And I think they're really honestly kind of like the same team, really honestly.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
One's got the defensive coach, head coach,
the
and we got
advantage.
Yeah, we have the but you've got the major rushing advantage. That's what I'm saying. It's like you as I feel like Aaron Jones is on the same level of like a Tannehill, like a top 10 running back, you know what I'm saying? But, Henry is like on the same level of like an Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe one of the top. I mean, it's either, him or maybe another guy, but I feel like maybe like a what's that dude's name in New Orleans? I would say he's probably number 2.
Oh, Alvin Kamara.
I'm a big Kamara guy, but I mean, Henry doesn't really give you anything in the passing game like that, but what he does give you, he just does it like no one. He does it better than anybody else right now in the football league, National Football League. So, I wanted to ask you. I spent a lot of time probing into your team, figuring out some of these sleeper guys we need to worry about, figuring out what's going on with the defense. I didn't know about the turnovers, but now I just want to ask you, what's your sort of overall impression of the Packers? Who are you sort of worried about? Who do you think is I don't know if you've seen any of our games or if you've sort of done any sort of research or whatever, or how do you think that the Titans can sort of attack this team? Who are you?
It's simple for us to win from a coach, like a game plan perspective. The execution of it is not as simple.
Right.
The way we're going to beat you is to run the ball.
Yeah.
If you guys stack the box, load the box, and force Ryan Tannehill to throw, okay, I say this all the time. People get mad. If I were to beat the Titans as a defensive coordinator, I'm going to put 7 people in the box, maybe 8, maybe 9 sometimes, go man coverage, and say, okay, Ryan Tannehill, are you elite? Beat me.
Right.
Because Derrick Henry's not going to.
Yeah.
And that's how that's how the Chiefs beat us. That's how the Browns beat us. That's how our losses. That's how it's happened. So for you guys, I'm not worried about any one particular person on defense, but I'm worried about maybe your defensive coordinator wising up a little bit.
Don't be. Don't be.
And that's where I have a little bit of faith. I don't think your defense is going to be able to stop us.
Don't be worried about Mike Pettin doing anything smart. He has been playing. We got a rookie named Kamal Martin, who's actually been number 54. You might, hopefully, you'll see him and you'll know him by the end of this game. He was somebody that really came into training camp strong. He was a 5th-round draft pick. A lot of Packers fans wanted the Green Bay to draft like a Kenneth Murray or a Patrick Queen, who were the highest graded sort of inside linebackers coming to this draft class. But I just saw a graphic yesterday from Pro Football Focus, and it said that actually Kamal Martin, and he got hurt like the week before the last week of training camp, right? He got hurt, and he missed like 4 weeks at least. Like the first month of the season, he missed, maybe 5. But he was there was a lot of reports coming out of the training camp, like this kid is he went from just getting the special team reps to second team reps to first team reps to when they got into the padded practice, he popped. Like everyone was like, hey, look at this rookie, and there's been games, I feel like since he's been playing, there has been at least 3 or 4 times a game where he is in the backfield. He doesn't always make the tackle. He's either making the tackle or missing the tackle. There was one time this last game, like literally like the first drive of the game for Carolina, he's like in the backfield. He could have had a 7-yard loss. He misses the tackle, okay, and they get like a gain out of it. But for a rookie who had no offseason workout, missed the first month and a half of the season, and had to learn everything sort of through the Zoom meetings and stuff like that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers talked about how that really helped him. But I mean, but he's already been a 10-year, 12-year veteran, and he's already was in the system. Yeah. But for a rookie coming out doing that, I feel like the only way for him to get better and to learn those sort of things is to get more playing time. And it has been increasing, and I want to see. I'm hoping Packin will play him more. But the reason I started saying this is because he's actually outperformed. He's graded like as one of the top 5 rookies on defense from this last draft class. Better, much higher than one Patrick Queen or Kenneth Murray, who were the the guys that everybody was talking about as can't miss prospects, and they could still turn their career around or whatever. They can have better years next year. But I was actually one of those fans. I was like, I want Kenneth Murray. And this kid has been balling. I mean, since he's I don't want to say he's balling, but he jumps out. It's been a position that the Packers for the last decade have not really had anybody there who makes plays and who stands out. For all the shit that he got, I don't feel like Blake Martinez, he was a tackling machine. Now, he wasn't the most athletic dude. Sometimes it was a little after I don't know how many tackles for a loss he had. Probably not many, Yeah. But he was definitely sound. He was a Stanford kid. He was smart. You know what I'm saying? So he ran the defense well. I do think he had some kind of disparaging remarks about Packin and the way he ran the defense after he left. He's now playing for the Giants. And I would have actually liked to see them keep Martinez. But last year, Packin, and even this year, he's ran a lot of this nickel and dime. He loves it because he wants to stop the pass. He loves running nickel and dime. And I don't have so much problem with the nickel, but you got to have those 2 linebackers in there. But he was going with like one true middle linebacker and this sort of like smaller hybrid safety linebacker position, which is like, I don't know. It's kind of like you're trying to be too cute with it and get this guy who can do all this stuff when they really, you don't have the guys to do that. Like, maybe if you had like some dudes who are a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, okay, but the personnel we have, they're not really good at doing that scheme. You know what I mean? They're not really, they're not really stopping the tight ends. They're not really quite fast enough to keep up with dudes kind of crossing against the middle consistently. And, they do sort of play the run, but it's like you're still a defensive back. At the end of the day, right. That's not what you're built to do. You're not built to really be playing the run like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, if he comes out in nickel and dime, honestly, and does this stupid shit against the Titans, it's like after San Francisco 2 times last year, like, you cannot do this. You cannot come out, and this is different. Derrick Henry is different. Like, I don't even know if the linebackers can handle this. Like, I don't really know if anybody. I don't really have the faith, nor have I seen it, that anyone can really handle this guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
as the game goes on.
I do not want to see a bunch of linebackers out there. I would like to see them play the double inside linebacker set, and I feel like if he would play that more, that would help in the run game. Now, he's probably thinking, but that leaves us more susceptible in the pass. But it's like, you're giving that shit up anyway, bro. Either way. So it's like, I feel like you at least play something, you know what I'm saying, and play more man, and let Jair Alexander and Kevin King, who's the bigger liability there, let him play on let him play on the island. And I think that plays to both of their strengths. Now, they can be a little aggressive, and sometimes they can get beat on the double moves and things like that, but they are pretty physical guys. Usually when guys make tackles, for the most part, when they're right there, they can get you on the ground. They have pretty good ball skills. They don't get a lot of interceptions, but they do get their hands on a lot of passes. And I think that's how they're gonna have to play the game. But
Yeah.
Kamal Martin is a guy. Hopefully, maybe he'll have a flash play and be able to get Derrick Henry down before he gets started, like just as he gets the ball, and just go for his ankles. You got to go for his ankles too. No, none of this up top stuff. Just go for those little ankles. And
you should see what he does in the off season. I watched a lot of his like workout videos that his trainer posted, and what he does is he goes down to Texas where it's hot in July, in June, and he runs with like chains on.
Yeah,
I mean he does drills where if somebody hits his ankles, he knows how to get out of that. Like
that's next level stuff. Yeah, he knows like this is my one weakness.
That's why he's so good.
Yeah, that's his one sort of weakness, right? Like you can, I mean, and that's really anybody's weakness. But that's why I think Kamara is so dynamic because his balance is just
he's quick,
and he's just got balance. He's I mean, I've seen some of that stuff with Henry, but I've seen some of these balance drills that Kamara does. Where he's like switching legs on the balance on the ball and like juggling and doing. It's like that's next level. That's like everybody is not willing to put in that kind of work. No, everybody's not willing to put in that kind of work. It shows on Sunday, and you know what else it shows up? In the pocketbook. It shows up in the bank account because they get those big contract, those big time deals. Is Derrick Henry, did he sign recently or he signed recently, right? This offseason, right?
We put the tag on him. Yeah, we put the tag on him, and then his contract is 4 years, $60 million.
Ooh, okay.
So it was good, but it wasn't crazy. And it made me love him more because he picked a team-friendly contract that's really light at the beginning, and then it's more rewarding towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that he saved that money so that he get talent around him, and I respect the man so much.
Salute to that. That's one of my biggest gripes, honestly, about Aaron Rodgers. As much as I think he's super talented, I mean I know he wanted to be the highest paid quarterback. You know, like I feel like that's important to him for whatever reason. And, you know, that's why he's only got one Super Bowl to show for it, in my opinion. So, you know, it's like you got to make some sacrifices. Tom did it for 20 years, and he's got 6 rings to show for it. You know, I feel like that, like you said, you know, I think it's respectable. It's commendable. And I think it probably goes a long way with your teammates and in the community, in the fan base. When you have a guy who everybody loves, it's like, okay, you know, he's willing to make a little bit of sacrifice. I mean, not anything crazy, you know. He still got $60 million. But, I mean, you know, he could have probably demanded more. And if they didn't want to pay it, somebody would have. So, you know. Yep. I think other than that, you know, you're not too worried about anybody on defense, and you know, rightfully so. I think the Packers. I don't think they have as many names as you guys have on defense. They do have some players, like I said, Jai Alexander I think he's having an All-Pro season. I think he's playing like, if not the best, one of the best cornerbacks in football this year. I mentioned Kamal Martin, Kenny Clark. A lot of Packers fans want to put him sort of in the top of that list. But he's still young. I think he's, you know, behind guys like Simmons and Cox and Jones or whatever the guy in Kansas City. Jones. And even... you know
what's funny is all 3 of those guys played at Mississippi State.
Really? Mississippi State, low-key, is a D-tackle university, huh? Coming out here. Wow, I did not know that. So, Simmons... Jones and Cox, Fletcher Cox, they all played in Mississippi. Wow. Okay, and I even think a guy that doesn't get enough credit is I know there's a dude that's playing for New York right now. I've heard a lot about him. I haven't really seen him play. But Akeem Hicks too. New York enough. Akeem Hicks. I mean, he's in the Packers division. Yeah. He's been hurt past couple years, but to me, when he's healthy, he moves the pocket. He gets after the passer, and he's a rock. I think Kenny is ascending. He's still young. He's still really young. I think he's like just turned 24 or some shit like that. Yeah. So I mean but he got paid, you know, as one of the top guys, and he's definitely. I think he needs to improve a lot in the running game. But I think it would also help if they could get some decent guys around him. Because right now, he just gets double teamed so much, and it's kind of easy to be like, we're gonna double team or chip him and just like run away from him, like you gotta just. I mean, it's obvious, honestly, like, or I mean, in the passing game, I feel like that's why he's a little more effective in the passing game because it's a little bit. I mean, you can still double, but I mean, you also have to like double Za'Darius, and you also have to like worry about some other people. So it's like it's a little bit easier for him to kind of have success in the passing game and get pressure. And he had 6 sacks one year. I think he's got like maybe 4 this year. He gets pressure.
Okay.
But around him isn't really that strong. They do have a guy, Kingsley Keke, who they drafted. He's in his 2nd year. He's been kind of coming on a little bit, number 96. So, we shall see.
I'll watch out for him.
Yeah, we shall see. But I think this is going to be a really, hopefully a really good game. I would love to. I wouldn't mind seeing a shootout. I think because I think that's the only way that the Packers can win. They're going to have to force them into a shootout and then just hope that, maybe we do get a turnover or on one of their drives we get some pressure and get a sack and then we can get the ball back and then, go score again. But, if they let, like I said, if they let Henry get 200 plus yards, then I think it pretty much seals the deal for them. Do you want to do predictions like players that you think are gonna you want to highlight or that you're hoping that we'll have a big game and like a final score or outcome or something like that?
Yeah, so I don't do score predictions.
Okay.
I'm always so off. It's
just like a fun thing. I don't really put a lot of I'm not out here telling people like betting lines and shit like that.
Oh no!
Yeah.
God no!
Yeah.
There's no way. I'd be like, never listen to me.
Yeah.
If you do the opposite
Right.
of what I said, you will win a lot.
Right, there you go. That's your thing, yeah.
No, I think as far as standout players, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a day. He might hit 400 yards.
Wow,
but
that
I
would be
think
nice.
that our ability to control the clock with the run game is going to be what I do think the Titans win this one, just because they're hot right now. They've got a lot to prove. And if they want to be a serious Super Bowl contender, which they say they do, they have to be able to beat the Packers, another serious Super Bowl contender. So I think the Titans win it, and it's just a gut feeling. I actually have this weird thing. Like, text me on Sunday morning and ask me how I felt when I woke up. Because when I wake up on game day, I'm like almost 100% every time, whether we win or lose. I knew we were going to win the 3 games or the 2 games we did in the playoffs, and I knew we were going to lose against Kansas City last year. I just didn't say anything. I was like, let me just be quiet. But no, I think Aaron Rodgers definitely hits 350, maybe 400 yards.
Okay.
I think Derrick Henry hits over 200 though.
Wow. Yeah.
I think Ryan Tannehill has about 200 himself because I don't think he's going to need to do much more than that. And then I think we come up with a big turnover, and I think it's Jeffrey Simmons that does it.
Okay.
The forced fumble.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Back, so.
Jeffrey Simmons. Okay, so you're going for like a convincing Tennessee win then. You don't want to get a score. I think convincing wins is like anything of like more than 8 points or something. Some shit like that. Do you think?
I think it'll be closer than that.
Okay, you think it'll be like a less than a 1 score? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I can't argue a lot of your points. As I said, don't have a ton of faith in Mike Pettin because he hasn't shown me. Last year, the whole world watched the San Francisco 49ers rush for 271 yards, and everyone just said, like, fuck, coach, just stack the box. I don't, like you said, I mean, they didn't even want their quarterback to throw the ball. They didn't even want, like, you have to be able to say, we're going to, like, put 9, in the box. Put 9 in the box.
Right.
And, that's it. Like, make this dude do that. And I think Tannehill, if forced to do that, I don't think he's as inept, as inadequate as Jimmy G. So, the other day, I did pick the Titans. I picked the Packers to win because I feel the exact same way. I feel like the Packers, if they want to prove that they can go farther in the playoffs than they did last year, maybe make it to the Super Bowl or at least have a better showing in the playoffs and the NFC Championship game or whatever, if they want to go back to that stage and have a different result, then this is like a big game for them. This is like literally the team that has been kicking their ass for the last, couple of times they got their ass kicked. This sort of team is what does it to them. And like you said, they ain't never seen a player like this. so right. All those other teams that fucked you up in the running game, they haven't even been this good at it. And, we're going to see if by some miracle Packin can do it. And it's like, I really want to pick the Packers so bad because I want to believe them. But, yeah, I guess I have to pick Tennessee, just based. Wow. Like, I have to pick because I can't conceive it because I haven't seen it. Yeah. Like maybe if the Packers do win though, or their key to winning this game is going to be, I think, similar to what you said for the Titans. They are going to have to force turnovers. Maybe even score, on a fumble recovery or something, or a pick six, something like that. And they're going to have to, hold. They're going to have to try to contain Derrick Henry. Like, it's not impossible. It's been done, we've seen it. It's not like the boogeyman, okay? Like, we've seen it done before, but it takes a lot of discipline and effort to do it, and tackling. And that's also been another weakness of this team. They don't tackle very well. So it's like that. This is just a recipe for disaster. This is a recipe for disaster. So yeah, I mean,
your strengths are our defensive weaknesses as well, though. So
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not worried about the offense. I'm not really worried. Like, as the offense, like I said, they've put on tape 2 games this year where they didn't look great. I mean, well, 3, but that Tampa Bay game, I don't even fucking. That's like trash. You know what I mean? Like just burn that shit. But the other 2 games, I mean, they've showed, and I said this to a friend last night. I said, I don't think the Packers have an identity. I think they have a concept, and I think they have a what they want to do, but I don't think they have an identity, because I've seen too many times where I don't think a team that has an identity on offense and they have plays they can go to, or they have, certain formations that they know work for them. I don't see how you could come out and get shut out 2 times in a whole half of football. And not, I mean, just 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out, and just not be focused, and just can't. And as a head coach, Matt LaFleur in his second year, I think too is a little bit still figuring himself out. Maybe, as a play, this is only his second year calling play, or I guess his third year calling plays. He called plays for you guys too, but it's like I think he's still figuring himself out. And it was documented last year that Rodgers coming into it wasn't as open and receptive to everything. And I think this year he's even mentioned that he is more open to it. But I also still think that this offense is still too influenced. And a lot of people are going to kill me for that. You talk about how you get killed. I get killed all the time for saying stuff like this. But I think this offense is too influenced by Aaron Rodgers' greatness. He has a little too much cachet to be like, hey, coach, like, come on, like, I'm a Hall of Famer, like, do you really want to take the ball out of my hands? It's like, yeah, actually, I do, but okay, I'm right. Like, but right, what fucking management, and it's like, and then I gotta work with you. It's like, he's smart enough to know that he's not gonna get anywhere like that, because if your quarterback doesn't believe in it, he doesn't want to run it. You're going to be, and that's what happened to the Packers last year. They won 13 games, but that offense wasn't stellar. But Aaron Jones was. He showed that he can be a guy that can carry a team if given the opportunity, and that's why I talked about that too. I think he's going to price himself out of Green Bay, or I don't think Green Bay is going to want to pay him what he's really worth, and I think he's really like a top 7, kind of top 5 guy, in my opinion. He's definitely top 10, in my opinion, from his ability and what he can do. But I would like to actually see Green Bay, and they have been running the ball a lot more. They've been very balanced. the past couple of weeks. I think that is also. I think honestly that's one of the reasons why they were able to beat Carolina is because they had the time of possession battle. Even though they weren't scoring, they weren't just giving the ball back to Carolina to then have opportunities to keep up with them. Even because 24-16. So I mean that's still a one score game. So it's like, and they didn't even have Christian McCaffrey. So it's like but just being completely unbiased, I'm gonna say the Tennessee Titans win. Yeah, like maybe 10 points. I think I could see it like a 10-point if things play out how they've played out. Like that. I feel like honestly, I think that's me being optimistically generous with the points because I mean Tampa Bay kicked their ass 30-something to 10. So it was like, if things go the way it could go and Henry has a big game and all that shit, like and the play action's working, humming, like it could be ugly. To be honest, it could get ugly. I'm not hoping. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say. Unless you have any, I'll give you the closing remarks if you want to say anything, if you want to plug something, or talk about what you're doing.
Yeah. So I will say I think it could potentially get ugly the other way too if our run game isn't working, and then your passing game is doing what I know it can do against our defense. So it could go ugly either way, but it can also be a really, really good close football game. And I think that's what we're more likely to see is a close football game. Because both these teams have so much to prove. And, I was talking to one of my buddies about all these players that were snubbed in the Pro Bowl, and our entire defense was all the guys we had up for it. Jeffrey Simmons, in my opinion, deserves to be in that conversation over Calais Campbell. Malcolm Butler got snubbed. He's had a great season. If you look at his numbers against top receivers, so.
He's got another one coming in. He's got another challenge this week. He's got a challenge this weekend.
That's who I'm nervous about, even more so than Aaron Rodgers is Devontae Adams. I realize they work together. Devontae Adams is really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, he's a dog.
But I think you see those guys that feel like they got snubbed, they're probably going to step up. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys that got snubbed, in my opinion. So there's going to be some fire. Because y'all had, 7 people get voted in?
Yeah, we had 2 linemen, Rodgers. It was Rodgers, Adams, Jones, Jenkins, not Lindsey, but Bakhtiari, Smith, for sure. So and Alexander, yeah. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there should be some all pros on that list. A little bit. Yeah, I mean, they need to. I hope they come out with some energy and some swagger. Like, hey man, what the man? Fuck, everybody doubting us. We're gonna come out here. We're gonna play hard. We're gonna hit. I mean, I think honestly, Rodgers and Adams and Alexander, I think, are playing at an all pro level. Honestly, I really honestly think. We talked about the MVP race, but if Henry cracks 2,000, I think he has a much better shot of getting the MVP, and I think they should wait. When did they vote for the MVP?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they should wait until the week of the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Like, they should wait until. I think
that's when they give it out.
I know, but I'm saying I feel like they should. I feel like the playoffs push should matter. I feel like that should be. That's a big, like you said, if you win MVP, but then you get kicked, that you can't even carry your team. At least to the championship game.
Yeah,
it's like
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's like So, and I still like Lamar. I think they that's a whole nother conversation. But what I do want to say is if Henry doesn't get MVP. If he can't crack 2,000 and he doesn't get MVP, I think he will probably get Offensive Player of the Year. Even though, Kelsey, to me the other options would be Kelsey or Adams. I think those are the 3 guys who are should be considered for Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah. So,
I'd agree with that. So, no, I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be fun. We'll definitely have to stay in touch while it's going on.
Oh yeah,
we're not too angry.
I'll be tweeting.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. I'm glad you're able to come on. Again, you have what's the name of your podcast again?
It's the Titans Beat. So we're at SIA Titans Beat. And Albert Hainsworth, who I think will be a Hall of Famer, but is definitely an All-Pro guy.
Yeah, for sure.
He's my co-host along with Joe Lemming, who's a Titan super fan. So
all right.
It's a lot of fun. It gets heated. So
yeah, I would imagine, especially having an ex-player on there. I'm sure they have very strong opinions.
He backs me up a lot.
Okay, well that's good. There you go.
He'll go like Anna. My favorite thing he says is like Anna just said. I'm like, oh,
there we go. There we go. Thank you, King. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Hey Anna, it was great having you on the show. It's going to be a good game. I'm really either way. I feel like hopefully this will be a good game. And thanks again for stopping by. And that's it, folks. This has been the What's Packin' Sports Show. My special guest Anna_Lewis35 on Twitter. And as I always like to say, go Pack Go. And the Bears still suck.
I love it.
You love it? All right. All right. We'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. All right. Peace. Have a good one.
Have a good one.